Hey guys, and welcome to the third episode of Tiny Talks, the Vanlife podcast. My name is Max, your host, and I'm sorry that this episode took a bit longer. I've been crazy busy in the last days since I've been working and just being out taking pictures, being around with other creators from around Canmore, as well as looking for a job that allows me to stay another year in Canada. But that is pretty much all set now, and I'm pretty stoked on that. I don't tell you what it is necessary now, but I tell you that much, that it has to do with the vans, and I'm really happy and stoked to commit to that for a full year to stay in this beautiful country. That being said, I don't want to make this too long. This episode, I have been sitting down and having a Skype call with Austin. He's a college student. He goes under the handle College Vanlife, and he's full-timing the Vanlife while he's studying full-time and working. But I don't want to spoil it too much. I just want to say that I'm really, really impressed by those people who follow a full-time occupation that doesn't allow you to be nomadic. You guys are the real OGs. You are crushing it. Like, really, I'm pulling my head in front of you. But I don't want to spoil it too much. I would say we just get into it. Just one thing. This was the first time of me recording a Skype call, and I was using this voice recorder to record my voice, and some of the settings were wrong, so don't be surprised. My voice has a little bit of a high pitch in that, and I think it had something to do with the sample rate. But I'm gonna sit down and have a closer look at that, since I wanna make this podcast really easy to listen to, and I just wanna provide good and easy content for you guys. So I would just say we dive into it. Sweet. Cool. So, Austin, you reached out to me on Facebook after I posted one of my episodes, and you are a college student, if I'm right, living in a van, right? So right now you're not in the van, as far as I can see.
No.
So, how about you just give us a little introduction of yourself? Why don't you just introduce yourself and what you're doing?
All right. So I guess started the van thing about one semester ago. So about the end of the summer, beginning of the school year. And I'm a college student going to school for electrical engineering. Also in the National Guard, which has kind of kept me from doing a lot of traveling. Kind of got to stay near my unit. But other than that, I started out with a Dodge B3500 van that I bought from a scrapyard, pretty much, for like $400. And then picked it up on a trailer, didn't start or anything. And the whole point of that project was to see how far I could get just salvaging and using reusable materials, refurbished, recycled, just anything like scrap that I could find and see what I could come up with. So the interior build, I didn't have a whole lot of time to work on it before school started, which is what I needed it for. And so pretty much I used a lot of the interior wood was stuff that I got from a barn that had collapsed. So reached out to a guy, heard about that, and picked up a load of wood from that.
I saw that on your Instagram the other day, that you used a lot of refurbished barn wood, man. That's pretty sweet. Yep.
So that and some pallet wood and different things like that, and so that was the first van, anyways.
Yeah. And now you're building out another rig, or are you living in it?
Yep. So it's kind of a temporary thing right now. So generally my living status as regards to the van is, so the town that I go to college in is about 45 minutes away from where my girlfriend and my brothers live. So what I'll tend to do is during the week, the 4 or 5 days during the week, I'll go to school and I'll live in the van. And then during the 2 days of the weekend, that's when I'll go back here and then visit and hang out. And that's when I'll cook all my food for the week. And that's when I'll do laundry and things like that.
Sweet. So you got all the stuff figured out. I'm really happy to hear that. It's always, what's interesting with you is that you're not traveling around, that you're like kind of stationary, which is what I find very, very interesting, right? So yeah, I guess, wait, it's Sunday, so I guess you're at your brother's and girlfriend's place?
Yep.
Yeah. So okay, I was wondering where you are right now, because that doesn't look like a van. But
no, it's not.
sweet, cool. How would we I have two questions that I collected from my Instagram stories I made yesterday. And the first one, that's pretty cool. I saw that you have been converting the van to a high top yourself.
Yep.
So actually that question is, so the question is basically, how did you do the renovation? Did you do it yourself? And if yes, what was the cost? That was the question actually from Jesse, who I interviewed the last time. He's living in a Dodge Sprinter van as well. So not a Dodge van, in a in Dodge Ram. So I think he's pretty interested in how you managed to do that.
Right. So that was definitely an undertaking of a project. I did build all of that myself. And what it came down to was, one of the biggest things I wanted in a van was to be able to stand in it for, cooking and changing and moving around. It makes a big difference. And usability, I guess. So before I even started anything, I wanted to build a top, which involved, taking a grinder or a cutting wheel and like cutting off the whole top of the roof and everything. So the cost was, let me think. I think the only thing that I spent any money on was bolts to connect the top to the van to seal it, and the outer coating to make it waterproof. But everything else was all salvage wood. So
wow,
the plywood,
that's impressive, man.
2x4s. I had a little bit of a, I guess you would say, a perk or an in. So my dad works for a construction company. So they have a lot of excess building materials that get thrown away. So they had a huge pile of just wood that just gets left out, and they take it by truckloads every couple of months to go sell to some place that uses old wood. So I had the opportunity to go in there and take whatever I needed. So all of the wood and the 2x4s and everything was all just salvaged free. So
yeah. So basically what you did, you built the bubble top completely from wood, and then how did you seal it off? Like, because that's as far as I know, because I did some research on putting up a high roof on a van like mine as well, is that the main problem most of the people have is to actually seal it off on the like right way where you put it on the roof, right? So how did you manage to do that? So you bolted it in, right?
Yeah, so the connection between the top of the roof and the 2x4, that was the very bottom part of the topper. Between that, we used what I would call bin sealer. So it's a type of rubber material that is usually placed on the bottom between the concrete and a grain bin. So we had some of that left over as well. That's what we used on the bottom for that seal. And then
sweet.
The bolts, as you tightened it, it just compressed it so that no air gaps could get in there.
Yeah.
And then the outer covering, what I tried to do was use a bed liner. And I don't think I would recommend that. It didn't work very well. So I still had that was one thing I dealt with before winter came. Was when it rains, sometimes I would get a leak in there, and I didn't have time to properly try to sand it all off again and restart with something else. But I would probably look into something better for a sealant for wood.
Yeah, so to basically seal it off completely. So basically it's some sort of like paint or whatever it is to coat it against. Okay, gotcha. Man, you get really creative, like getting all the scrap wood and then building your own thing out of it. It's pretty sweet. Yeah, I also noticed, like during my van build, a whole bunch of stuff I actually got from the restores. So like the Habitat of Humanity. So for instance, like I have bloom hinges in here, which are from Austria, which I actually know because I visited, during my studies, I visited the factory where they actually make these hinges. And at Home Depot, I think a pair of those or one hinge is $12, like $12 Canadian. And I went to the restore and I got them for $1 each. The same hinges. They're just used, right? Like they were in a cabinet and they just took them out, right? So definitely for people that are on a budget, it's a very good idea to just go around and see if you can reuse a bunch of stuff. So even Megan, she built a step van. She got a whole kitchen for $225 Canadian, a full kitchen from the restore. And then she, of course, like you have to put in some work to, like refurbish it. But I mean, that's the whole fun of it, right?
Yeah. So what I've kind of found out is, in my experience, is you can pay a lot of money up front for really nice things, or you can spend your time trying to fix things that maybe not were in the best condition to begin with, or to work with materials that you have to build yourself. So it's kind of whatever you have and what you want to spend your time or your money.
Yeah, it always comes down to either time or money. I made a post about that about half a year ago, because it's the same. It's pretty much everything in van life is kind of comes down to time or money, right? Yeah. Like for me, being a content creator, like being a nomadic content creator, I depend on public Wi-Fi, right? Or like open Wi-Fi's or in coffee shops and whatever. I uploaded a YouTube video once from a Tim Hortons parking lot, and it took me more than 5 hours. And it's exactly the same thing. Of course, I could get UMTS stick, like one of those data dongle sticks for my laptop, and spend money to have a high-speed internet connection, or I spend the time and use the slow internet of a Tim Hortons or whatever it is to upload a video, right? So that's interestingly, that's one of the main things that you encounter most of the time, is always kind of like either money or time, or something in the middle. Like it all, you have to choose, right?
Yeah.
So the next question is kind of interesting, because you said you have a girlfriend, but the question is, do you find girls you are interested in are into or not into van life? So what is in general, when you talk to girls at college? I mean, you have a girlfriend now, so it's not really you're not on the hunt right now, so I guess you can't really tell from experience, but
I can kind of answer that though. So in answer to that question, so I do currently have a girlfriend, so I don't really talk to anyone else that I would be interested in and see what they would think about that. But when I met her before I started this whole thing, she was pretty supportive of it, and she thought it was a pretty cool idea, and she would even help me build it, and do certain things here and there to help me out with it. And just talking to people in general on campus or anything like that, I have found most of the time that people that I do talk to and tell about it, they actually find it to be really interesting. They've usually been pretty supportive about it, and I usually get offers from people to be like, well, if you ever need anything, you can always stay at my place, or I can always, help you out in some way or another. I've never really met any negativity about it or towards it at all.
Oh, that's cool to hear. That's cool to hear. Yeah, I can completely relate. Like, I'm here in Canmore currently, and and also a lot of people live here in staff accommodations or rent a room because they work here, right? And I can completely relate with all these offers you get. Like, you have a lot of people that tell you, like, hey, if you ever need, I don't know, like a place to hang out or have a shower or whatever, you're welcome to come to my place. It's really cool. I also didn't really encounter any negativity of people being like, oh, he's just a fancy bum, or get off my property or whatever. Like, I'm just in public parking lots, right? So it's not a big deal. So cool. Yeah. How is it with your girlfriend? Like, do you travel? Like, do you go on road trips sometimes together in the van? I guess. I mean, since you got it, you can also make use of it, right?
Yep. We've done a few little trips within the state, but we haven't made any long trips yet. We plan to probably in the summer, but I've still, I've been in school this entire time that I've had it, so we haven't really had a lot of time to go do anything like that. But we definitely have plans to.
Yeah, sweet. Okay. Yeah, I can see. I mean, it's winter now. Like, we're getting closer to summer, which is definitely the prime season for us van dwellers to make the big trips. But yeah, I'm hoping to see you down the road. Maybe, I don't know. I'll be crossing into the US at some point, hopefully. So it would be cool to hang out. Now, here's one question that I am actually very, very interested in. Is what is your main reason, apart from the commuting, that you said, oh, what was the moment where you decided, okay, I'm gonna live in the van in these 5 days of the week that I'm at school?
Well, it kind of started, I never really thought too much about it. It kind of just happened on its own. So I started out thinking I kind of wanted to have sort of a minimalistic lifestyle. I wanted to be able to travel. I don't need that much, so like a tinier space would be better. So I first started looking at, maybe a tiny home on a trailer would be something cool that I could build and then travel with that. But then the more I thought about it, and the more, like, I would watch videos of it on YouTube of different designs, and then following down the rabbit hole on YouTube, I saw people that would basically do the same thing but build it into a tinier space, that space being a van. And I thought that would actually be perfect for what I need, because, being in the military and stuff, have dealt with a lot of situations where I really don't have that much. You kind of like live in wherever you are. So like, I'm already used to it, and it actually would work pretty well for me. And I knew that down the road, that what I'm building towards is to be able to have a career on the road and being able to travel. That's the dream. Is just right now I can't do the traveling thing, but I could still build, the van, so that whole thing is pretty much ready to go by the time that I'm ready to go. So I've always been
I see.
kind of interested in the lifestyle, just didn't know that it was going to be a van until I came across that.
So you came into this by just having a minimalistic lifestyle already, and then saying, hey, I own so little that I can actually also downsize my living space, if I see that right. And then of course, like, YouTube is, as you said, it's a big rabbit hole, especially when you get in there. We all have been binge watching at least 10 van tours or tutorials or whatever in a row. So I think we're all guilty of that. But yeah, it's cool to hear. It's cool to hear how you got there. because it's, that's kind of the thing I'm interested in. Like, what is the motivation of people? Why they end up in the van? Because most of the time you see them being in the van, but you never really know what made them go there, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for sharing that. And also, what's very interesting to me is what is the biggest challenge? Because I cannot really imagine how your everyday routine looks like when you're in school.
Right.
So how does that go?
Well, yeah. Let me break down a typical day for me. So it's very busy, for one. So I typically, before I even started the van thing, I was always an avid gym goer. So that wasn't really a huge shift. So that's where I would shower. So in the morning, I'd wake up and go to the gym, and then I do my workout and shower. So that's pretty much how I would do that. And then from there, I'll have a class. And then with the particular job that I have as well, I work for Daktronics, which is an electronics display manufacturer, and I work in the lab doing, I guess you would call it destructive testing, kind of, to determine how long the product will last under certain conditions. Anyways,
yeah.
So what I do is I go to a class, and then when I'm not at class, I have to go back to work, and then I go to another class, and then I go to work until the end of the day when both work and school are over. And then usually from there, I'll either go to somewhere on campus or local coffee shop. That's one of my favorites. And I'll either, work on my homework or do whatever. And then that'll bring me up to about 10 p.m. And then that's when I crawl in the van and go to sleep for the night and do that for another 4 days. It's about what it looks like.
Okay. And how is it with parking? So are you allowed? I guess you're kind of known on the campus for the guy living in the van because it's something different, right? How is it with parking? Like, does the school know that you stay in the parking lot, or do you go somewhere else, or how does that look like?
Yeah, so I've kind of noticed a little bit. It's almost like the rules were almost intended to not allow you to do this. It almost seems like it's been engineered that way because the campus rules don't allow you to be parked anywhere on school property overnight, which is a bit of a bummer because that would make things so much easier for me. But so I can't do that. I do have you buy a commuter pass so that you can park there during the day. And it's a very large campus, so that's something that you kind of need to have. And then work is the same way. Can't park there overnight. So where do I go? Well, there's really only one place left, and that's just there's streets you can park on, just on the regular street, residential areas kind of that you can park overnight, and that's usually where I end up going. But then in the winter, you run into another problem. Like this year, we've got I don't know how many feet of snow piled up already, but in the middle of the night, it starts snowing, and then the plows come in the morning. If you're still there when they come around, you'll get a ticket. And so it's really kind of a cat and mouse game to try to find a spot where you can park and not get a ticket. It's kind of a challenge.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, it's what I mean. That's one of the things. Like if we like, oftentimes, I have the feeling we just stay in places where it's not really sure, right? Like if we can stay there overnight or not. And I mean, one of the benefits is we can always just pack up and leave super quick, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a cool thing. But I mean, for you as a person that's kind of like in one designated area for an extended period of time, I'm pretty sure you have your secret spot sorted out already. So
yeah, I've got a couple different places that I usually go, and usually it's actually fairly close to the school. Usually kind of like the residential area where most of the college students that don't live on campus stay. So there's a lot of people coming and going, and there's a lot of cars parked on the street. No one's ever, came knocking on the door and asked, if I was in there or anything like that, or was disturbed by my presence being there, unless it was for snowplow. But so it hasn't been that bad. Once I found a good spot, it's usually open, and I usually can stay there.
Oh, okay, sweet. That's cool to hear.
But definitely, when I first started, that was one of the things that I was most paranoid about. It's just something that you kind of get used to as you go.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree. Cool. And how is it with being, just socializing on campus? Like, I mean, you said you're working on the side, which means you're kind of like bouncing in between classes and work. How's it in the evenings? Like, do you just crash right away, or do you also have moments where you just kind of like hang out with a bunch of buddies or like classmates?
I don't know, kind of as a person, the way that I am, I don't really socialize that much to begin with. I'm pretty introverted, I guess. During the summer, maybe, I do more stuff, but during the winter, usually don't hang out too much. Usually just watch, read a book, or maybe watch a show on Netflix or something. And then I'm usually waking up pretty early anyways, around 5 a.m. So usually when the day's over, really... I'm already kind of going to bed already. So usually most of my socializing is during the weekend anyways.
Yeah, when you're back with your brothers and girlfriend, I guess. Yeah. Sweet, cool. So we're coming up to almost half an hour right now. So in the end, I just want to give you a little bit of space before we finish this and wrap it up. Just want to take a bit of time. This is kind of like your room to maybe plug your social media handles or your website or whatever you want to get out there for people to find you online. And also, what do you want to tell the people out there that might be interested in getting into the van life?
All right. I would tell people that if you want to do it and there's something that's holding you back, you'll get over it. Just jump in and do it if you think that's something that you want to do. And if it's something that you want to do and you end up not doing it, you'll just spend a whole bunch of time regretting it. So I would say just jump in and you'll figure it out. I don't think anything bad could come from it. And it's definitely kind of a life-changing experience, I would say. Whether you're traveling, that would especially be the case or not. But it'll definitely give you a different perspective on life. It'll teach you how much you really need and how much you don't. You'll realize how much water you use, like how much food you eat. You'll learn a whole lot more about yourself, definitely. My Instagram is at collegevanlife.com, and I also have a blog that I write about my experiences, and it's collegevanlife.com.
Perfect. Very well said. I couldn't have said it better. I completely agree with you. Thank you so much for being my guest this time. Really happy, and yeah, maybe see you down the road.
All right. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and yeah, we'll catch up soon. I'll let you know when the episode is up, but it should be in the next couple of days.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Perfect. And that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this little chat with Austin and me. It's really interesting. Like, this is really why I created this podcast, is to give you guys a lot of different perspectives of why people actually do follow this lifestyle. And before I let you guys go, I just want to mention once again, if you guys are interested in supporting this podcast, you can do so through my Patreon. You can find it under patreon.com/maxmschneider. You can support me with a little donation there, and as soon as we have a full community and crew together, I will start sending out postcards on a regular basis, which are prints of my photographs from my Instagram feed, or even unpublished ones, which I'm really stoked to send you guys. The first batch is already printed. Now that I've collected all the addresses from the people that donated at the very beginning of my journey, thank you guys so much. I will sit down and write the letters to all of you guys within the next days before I leave Canmore, I hope. And with that being said, I'm really happy I'm doing this. Like, I'm really enjoying this. So I hope so do you, and I will hear you next time. Stay stoked.